Good day, everyone. This is Lisa Taylor of Beyond Betrayal Community. This is April 25th, the very last moments of IAX's 2016 conference in Colorado Springs. We've had a great time.
Yes.
And again, it was a lot of great learning, all that good stuff, but even more so was hanging out with women like this.
Bestest.
And all the fun that we
That's
had.
the best.
Yeah.
And those of you who've been around the community a while, you'll know Donna Meredith Dixon, who both writes for us, and we've got another video interview with her and the wonderful Crystal Morrissey, so that you can look for that on the website. And many of you will know Fonda, who both writes and is in videos. So she's a well-entrenched member of the Betrayal community. We're going to talk today a little bit about self-image and self-worth. This is a topic that's kind of been near and dear to all of us, as Donna and I were involved in this study with Marcia Means, and Donna and Fonda and I were already interviewed by Marcia Means on a podcast, and if you get a chance to listen to that, it's available on her site. It's available on my site somewhere, but it's harder to find. I'll try and put it someplace easier to find. You can certainly hear some more of our stories, but we're going to kind of do this now today on video, because I know a lot of you kind of prefer the video method of communication. So let's talk a little bit about our stories, ladies. Who would like to start?
Go ahead, Donna.
Okay. I've been married for now over 50 years, and I was a child bride, yes, and I keep it backing up what that age was that I got married, but we were both very young, and our marriage, we went through a lot of different crises in our marriage. Some health crises. I had lots of miscarriages and that type of crisis, but also just trying to be adults, learning how to be adults and learning how to be healthy adults. Took a long time for us to figure out how to do that. And I became a Christian when I was 28. That revolutionized my life, and I really look at my healing journey prior to discovery beginning then. And took a long time. But shortly after our 40th anniversary, I had my discovery time day, and it was actually a discovery period of time. It was not one particular day, but our conversations around that began. And in that discovery, I learned that my husband's problematic sexual behaviors extended prior to our marriage and throughout our marriage. And the shock and awe kind of thing that we all go through when we go through discovery, I experienced all of that. And as a woman who is over 60 at the time, just turned 60, it was like at that age we're already beginning to experience some self-image concerns.
Yeah.
And because of the nature of some of our issues in the marriage, I carried that throughout our marriage. Somehow I'm not enough. Somehow I always felt like I wasn't quite enough, but had no reason to. There was no reason to suspect, no reason to, by his behaviors until the last couple years before discovery, that there was anything really problematic along those lines. Anything that was problematic seemed to be more health related. So we began stumbling through those early years, and eventually, in about 2-3 years in, I discovered Marcia Means' website, and that really helped a lot, particularly because she started writing about trauma, and she was working on her book with Barb Steffens, and the trauma began. The importance of the trauma for me was that it made sense of how I was responding and reacting, and nothing else did. But it also helped make sense of our marriage, and it also began to lead me into what I feel like is a much healthier self-image, because it's not focused on self-image, it's focused on self-worth.
Yes.
And that transition phase has grown. It was not an automatic transition. I initially it was I thought maybe if I was thinner, maybe if I was this, that, and the other, that. But the more I got to know partners and the truth of the issue, the more I realized this isn't about me. This is more about him. And so then I began that journey of understanding what is it like to be healthy around that. How can I face the rest of my last years feeling okay with being Donna? At whatever age Donna is. And then how do I help other partners move toward that, so we're not doing some of the crazy things that we do to try to feel better about ourselves. So that was my journey.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. Wow, it's amazing that you could go 40 years and still have no clue what's going on.
No clue.
Wow, that's amazing. You guys are, and how long ago was
It was in
discovered?
2006, so 10 years.
Wow.
We're-
What a journey, and you've come so far.
We have come very far.
Because seeing you guys together, you look like you have this wonderful relationship.
Well, we all heard Shelley and Jason, my
Yes.
Tinkus, yesterday.
Yeah.
And I was so proud of her, and also for people like Barb Steffens,
Mm-hmm.
who, what they do as women in relationship on a real far on their healing journey, we share that this has forever changed us.
Yes.
And that to me is why the importance of understanding our self-worth,
Mm-hmm.
that I'm very grateful our marriage continues to heal. But that's
Right.
what it continues to do.
Right.
The point yesterday when Jason and Shelley were going back and forth a bit with joking about, we have a great marriage,
Yeah.
Jason proclaims. And Shelley says, no, we have a good marriage.
Yeah.
And
Great would be stretching.
Great would be stretching it. And I think that so often we try to paint a picture of a marriage that's in recovery with this thought that we're giving hope to other partners,
Mm-hmm.
that you too can get this.
Yes.
You lucky lady. And instead what we need to know is that we're all fallen.
Mm-hmm.
We're all still broken.
Mm-hmm.
And we're doing the best we can. And if we do the work,
Mm-hmm.
we can have a healthier marriage. I
Yes.
look at that. That's my barometer for life now. It's not good, great, that is, am I moving toward healthy in my
Yes.
relationship,
Oh, gosh,
or
that's
am I
great.
moving away from that?
Mhm.
And so Walt and I continue to move toward healthy.
Yeah.
I still
It's a
get
journey.
triggered.
It's-
I can
it's-
still get triggered.
Yeah.
Not I could. I get triggered,
That's reality.
and we process that.
Yeah.
I don't hide it. I don't pretend it. I don't
Mhm.
apologize. I
Mhm.
own it.
Yeah.
And because I do, and because he doesn't feel shamed, I don't shame him.
Mm.
It's just like if I'd had a bad accident and lost one of my legs, I'd be in trouble, and I'd have to adapt to that. And that's
Yeah.
what this is like.
Yes.
We lose something important, and we learn how to go with it. So
And I really appreciate hearing that in the conference too, because for me, I kept hearing all these women who've made the journey, who've conquered, who've entered the promised land. And
yes,
I'm like,
yes,
well, I'm a long way from the
Yeah.
promised
Exactly,
land. How did
exactly.
they get there?
How
And
did-
just
yeah.
to hear,
Yeah.
there's always going to be good days
Yeah.
and bad days.
There's always
and
going-
You're not going to crest the hill and it's
Right.
going to be over.
even if SA is not in our marriage relationship, there's no marriage that just navigates and goes. There's no friendship. There's no
That's
parent-child relationship. What
Yeah.
relationship on earth is not something that we have to cultivate and maintain?
Right.
And so to put out there any other face of it,
Right.
I won't do.
It's to deceive people.
It's to
Yeah.
deceive,
Yeah.
and it's false hope,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and we've had false hope.
Yes.
We've lived
Yes.
false hope and
Yes.
false expectations, and
Mhm.
I want the really hope that we
Right.
hang on to
Right.
is not our husband's.
Ah,
right.
That's the reality.
That's the
what we
reality.
can-
Yeah.
My self-worth is not given by him.
No,
Right. Boy, it took me a long time to discover
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
all of us.
All of us.
Yes.
We're so
All
prone to
of us.
honing into our husband for cues and how we should
Correct.
feel about ourselves.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
And we have to detach that.
Yes.
And it's nice. And I always think of it as when my husband gives me something good, feeds me something good towards my self-worth. That's a bonus. But
Yep.
I'd say it is coming from God.
Yes.
Right.
And for a long time, I couldn't receive it. And then I realized if I saw it as He's filtering God's love
Yes.
toward me,
Mm.
Yes.
I can receive that.
Yes.
I
Yes.
trust God.
Yes.
I trust God's love for me.
Yeah.
Right, right.
And eventually I can receive it as more and more from Him as well.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. And that goes up with the trust level.
Yes.
And then I think it also goes up with what are my expectations? Because our husband's personalities are all different. And if I'm expecting my husband's worth giving to
Mhm.
look like this, apart from who he is as a person and all of that, then how can he possibly meet my expectations?
Yes.
If I'm still on this side of this battle, gaining my expectations of what it looks like from the most recent great movie about romance,
Mhm.
or
Yes.
whatever,
Yes.
then I am not going to be able to receive it in truth.
Mm.
I'll be able, he might say, "Boy, you really look good in that outfit," and what I might really and what I might really want to, "Boy, you're a knockout today. Boy, that's a 10." And so when I look at when I remember to filter it through his personality, not through my expectations.
Mm.
And I think it's great to tell them what we need too. I
Mhm.
need to hear this.
Yeah.
I don't need to hear you are the most attractive woman on the face of the earth,
Mm.
because even if I was, that's not enough to keep him faithful.
Right.
What's enough to keep our relationship healthy is that we both have an honest, open appreciation, deep, abiding love for each other, just as
Yes.
we are, as our imperfections. Thank you, Brene Brown,
Yes.
for helping us understand that it's not in spite of, but it's
Mhm.
with.
Right. And that's where that intimacy comes from.
Absolutely.
To know and be known and
Yes.
still be loved in spite of all of our
Yeah.
warts and our
Yeah.
flaws and our I was thinking what you said about, when your husband loves you, that's just God loving you. But for me it was the absolute opposite. If my father didn't love me and my husband didn't love me, then
How could
God won't love me. If I can't please them, how can I please God?
Oh, that's tough.
So it was just
Yeah.
totally backwards
Yeah.
from how it was
Yeah.
supposed to be.
So how did the paradigm shift happen?
Well, it took a while, but just I think detaching, just giving up that trying to please, trying to be perfect, just kind of laying that down, taking my husband off of the pedestal, the God pedestal I had put him on, and say, okay, it's you, Lord, that is my husband, and my father, and my lover. And the big thing for me was coming to terms with the fact that no matter what I did, I would not lose his love. If I because I always thought I had to be a good girl, I had to be perfect. I was driven to be perfect so that I could gain love. But just coming to terms with the fact that no matter what I did, he's not going to love me any more than he already loves me. That was huge for me. So freeing.
Yeah.
I can any decision I make, I'm not going to lose his love, whether it's to fight for my marriage, whether it's to divorce, whether it's whatever I did that was bad that day, he still loves me unconditionally. I don't have to prove myself. I don't have to be pretty. I don't have to
Right.
he
That's
loves me.
right.
That was amazing.
It
So
is.
freeing.
It
Yeah,
is.
absolutely. Now, those of you who haven't listened to Fonda's story, Fonda's currently single. After 35 years of a really, really painful marriage, with just all kinds of infidelity,
Oh yeah.
and a really hard road letting go,
Yes.
and putting up those boundaries to protect herself.
Yeah.
So she's got the perspective of, I have to rebuild my world, including my self-worth, without a husband, and redefine
Absolutely.
myself now as a woman outside of a marriage. So
It's
what do you
quite a
think?
journey.
Do you think it's more challenging for women who are divorced to have a good sense of self-worth, self-image?
Not necessarily. It was for me at first.
Yeah.
Only because it was total failure. Total failure. My whole life was my marriage, my family. I fought tooth and nail for that.
Yeah.
I prayed, I trusted God, and then to finally lay down the sword, it's like I failed.
Yeah.
I failed, and it was my whole life. I've got, I'm worthless. What is my
Right.
value then?
Right.
I was a
Right.
mother and a wife first
Right.
and foremost. That's all I dreamed of from the time I was a little girl. I had no other big ambitions, and because of so much gaslighting through the years, I didn't know who I was.
Right.
Yeah.
Lost self.
Yeah, I was just totally lost. So to lay that down was horrendous. But the rebuilding process, because we separated 4 years before we actually finally divorced, the rebuilding process of self-esteem and worth has been incredibly freeing.
Mhm.
But I couldn't have done it in a vacuum.
No.
I could not have
Absolutely
done it without the community, Marcia Means, and her website, connecting with other women and just sharing their journey and coming to terms with the fact that, wow, it's a broken world and these
really
men
is
are
that.
broken.
Yeah.
And it's not my fault.
No. And that's free.
So freeing.
Yeah.
So
That is
freeing.
really free.
And just, taking little steps of freedom, little steps, making decisions for yourself, and realizing that it's okay, the world's not going to fall apart, and just, diving into the Word and letting the Lord be my anchor has been transformational. I'm still on the journey.
Yeah.
There are days where you fall back, but yeah, it's been amazing. Now I'm still on the journey with my husband because it's been 1.5 years now since our divorce, and he says I'm really in solid recovery now, and I'll do whatever it takes to fight back. But I'm remaining detached. I know now I don't need him. I don't need to have him in my life to complete me.
Yeah.
That's right.
Or to make you a woman of value.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm okay. I'm okay, and I'm still growing and learning, and I didn't lose my children. I still have a family. We're still a family. It's not, I thought the Anna-bomb had hit and I had lost everything, but I didn't. I still have a family. We still have gatherings. Life is still good. Actually, it's better.
Right.
It's so much
Right.
better because
Right.
I lived in crazy making and
Yeah.
depression and just constantly fighting to find
Right.
out what my reality was.
Right.
And it's so much more peaceful now.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much more peaceful now.
So the body image survey that we did kind of bore out what you just said. There can be an initial a kind of plummeting of body image and self-worth, but most of the respondents who were separated said, I feel good about myself now.
Yes.
Because we're talking about women who are with men who are not really in recovery. They may say they're in recovery, but they're acting out. So the message she is continually getting is, you're not enough.
Yes.
Right. And he's not trying to give her that message, but that is how the majority of us are going to receive that, we talked about that. This is an adult attachment bond. And that bond is broken.
Exactly.
There's something very fundamental and core in us that says, I'm trying to attach to you. You're not attaching to me. You're not allowing me to attach. It must be me.
Yes.
Because that's a rejection. You're not
Correct.
receiving me. In fact, you're receiving others.
Right.
You're bonded to them.
Right.
So on a very, very core level, I don't know if it matters how much we understand it's not me, it's not about me, it's not me. It's hard to get that into your soul.
Oh, that's
from your brain.
That was the hard part for me. That's the part that took a long time. I know everybody says that, but I don't care. I still feel it. I still feel it.
And that again is where the trauma comes in.
Yes.
In understanding that, particularly when ongoing slips, relapses, and behaviors go, we never move completely out of safety first.
Right.
We're not safe. We know, I might be all the way down here in stage 3, and it's not linear. Go stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and one isn't less important than the other.
Yes.
But you have to go through that. You want to get through the reconnection and moving into that. But if something happens anywhere along that, we go back.
Right.
And so then we have to redo that work of, where is my value? So But when I'm traumatized, when it's a trauma response, which is a little different than when I'm triggered. When I'm triggered, I can have a trauma response, but I might not have a real trauma response. I'm triggered. But the trauma response activates that brain that is overwhelmed, and I'm no longer thinking logically. I can't. So when you couldn't hold on to it at times, where it's not in my, I can't, it's not in my head, it really isn't. The logic part of the brain isn't functioning.
Well, and that further compounds the problem, because there's back to what is wrong with me.
Exactly.
This is what everybody tells me, but I can't do it.
Exactly.
So
overwhelmed.
What is wrong with me? So it's building your core.
And that's where the community comes in with helping us get back to being grounded, helping us, even if we can't hear it. And sometimes I don't even try to respond to a woman in that moment about her worth.
Right.
What I just respond to her is about her pain.
Yes.
Because that helps me calm down.
Right.
I hear you, I see you, I'm so sorry.
And it's normal for you to feel this
it's
way.
It's normal
You're
for you
not
to feel
bad.
this way.
There's not something wrong with you. This is very, very normal.
This is very normal.
That was big for me.
And this is not something you can talk yourself into.
Oh, yes.
Not in the moment.
Yes.
When I calm back down, when I do some of the things that help me calm down, especially once I began learning about that in the early years, when I learned that I did have some control over my trauma response, meaning I couldn't stop it, the activation of it, but I began, like, I would tap my leg, I would tap my foot, because it grounded me, it brought me into the moment, and in my brain, and I heard someone say it, I forget where it was at the APSATS training, just talking about just the self-talk.
Yeah, that's
that
huge.
Where the heart is engaging the brain and saying, "Look, I got this.
Yes.
You're safe.
Yes.
You're okay."
Yes, and so you can just speaking it
just
out
speaking
loud,
it out
so you can hear it.
So it's kind of crazy walking around
Yeah.
sometimes, but that's okay.
Yes,
because
yes.
I'm going to own, stay in what I own. I've done that biblically throughout my adult life. Is that we call that meditation, and so whether I call it meditation or a mantra, when it's a biblical verse, sometimes it's all I can hold on to.
Right. Well, otherwise, if we stay in our own brain, all we hear are those negative thoughts.
Correct.
It's
Correct.
like you aren't enough. You failed. You're bad. But no, I'm good. God says that I am fearfully and wonderfully made.
Right.
And just.
Well, and the other things that we do with that, talking about those negative thoughts, is we begin to second guess some of the things, our responses when we're triggered, or our, we feel, we don't feel safe, but we're not identifying that I don't feel safe because my gut is telling me something's wrong.
Yes.
And so we're not trusting our gut. We're not going, and if we do trust our gut momentarily, if we're brave enough to do that and we check, we can feel, unless we have that community that reminds us, it's pretty normal to want to check to make sure he's not doing something, because you're not safe if he's doing something.
Right. That is reality.
That's like making sure the tiger really isn't in the closet.
Right.
Because if that tiger comes out at night, I'm not safe.
So,
but that's a head thing, and the not validating that your gut's pretty honest.
Yeah.
It's a real thing. There's neural things that are happening between our gut, heart, and brain that just are sending us messages, and sometimes the brain doesn't quite kick in time. So,
and realizing through the community, reminding you have choices.
Yes.
You don't have to remain a victim, this trapped little girl in this world that has no choice. You have choices. You can say, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be here. Right. That was huge for me.
Especially in the Christian community.
Yes, creating boundaries that say this is my body, my life, and I get to decide now where I'm going to go from here. And it's empowering. And that's.
I can tell you're a woman of worth. Understanding. You've got that.
Yeah, well, it took me a while to get that. Just feeling so unloved, so unloved, but just coming underneath the blood of Jesus, and just, I often envision myself kneeling underneath the cross, and the blood dripping on my forehead. And I'm down there going, but I will never be loved. and then looking up and him looking down on me and going, really? Was this not enough? This is how much I loved you. And think, okay, it's all I need. It's all I need, yeah. And he's carried me through, those footprints in the sand, those times where I couldn't.
Where were you?
Well, where were you?
Right.
And I thought I was all alone because that crisis of faith you go through after you've given your all. And no, he was carrying you through at that time, carrying you through to victory.
And that kind of brings up the point. It is very difficult to have a good sense of self-worth in this world today if you're not connected to the one who says you are of eternal value, you are of eternal beauty.
Yes.
You are my bride.
That's right. You're my bride.
Yes. Yes.
And it doesn't matter if you're 87 years old.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Or if you are...
I'm timeless.
Yeah, if you are something that the world says is objectionable, the way you look. In other words, you're not a 16-year-old model.
Right.
Anything outside that strict mold.
Right.
Yeah.
God says, I see you with the eyes of truth.
Correct.
And the eyes of truth say, you are precious.
Right.
You are of inestimable value.
And I had to battle that because that the voice inside says, okay, I married young, also 18. Our betrayal started 3 months after our marriage. I didn't know till later, but I think if I wasn't enough then, how can I be enough at almost 60? I'm going downhill.
Exactly.
It's not getting better, but and then Klein, like how am I going to be in this world where beauty is so valued?
Yeah.
And
like it's the only thing that matters to me.
I never felt beautiful to begin with, but now I've totally, but just through the transformation and looking to God, realize I want the beauty to be on the inside.
Right.
Yeah.
That's where
and
the
it
value
shows
is.
on the outside.
Don't you?
Yes.
It shows.
Yeah, I was going to say, haven't you met people before that you thought were beautiful? You spend a little time with them, and they're not so pretty. And then the other way around, just the beauty, when it comes from the inside.
I heard this story. When I saw her, there was a group of us sitting at a table on the 2015 Dallas IAXIS conference, and we were all sitting around, and Donna was the oldest person there, in her late 60s at that time, now we're in her early 70s. And I swear, I went there and I just was to her.
Yes,
and I thought,
it radiates.
there's something amazing about that woman.
Yes.
She stood out, and her beauty just
radiated.
Just caught my attention.
Yes.
Because that's
I
seen
have
with the eyes of
noticed
God.
that too. Yeah, it is the beauty that comes from the
Well,
inside.
and we do see, me too.
well.
I was just, I was watching and listening at the same time, and thinking, I could picture you almost gray and dark as you went through that terrible time after the divorce.
Mm-hmm.
Leading up to it is awful, but that break of a lifetime marriage, regardless of the pain of the marriage. My joke about myself is I worked with older adults long before I became one, and so I've seen that journey, even in troubled marriage, when one dies or is separated, there's a breaking that happens.
Oh yeah, part of you.
But then, it's part of the regardless how corrupt the intimacy might be, there's still an intimacy in there's still something.
Yes.
My husband's parents did not have a healthy relationship, and his mother died. Well, his mother died 4 years before his dad. She was killed in a car accident where Dad was driving. And I remember Dad walking around the house with her picture as an 18-year-old bride, weeping, weeping that he didn't take her on, weeping that he didn't do this, weeping of all of that. So that's the other side of that for those who are left behind by death or divorce.
Yes.
That, of course, your husband is going to say, because he sees what he lost. He sees the beauty, and the beauty of, the regret then if someone even begins to get healthy, and he's going to have to go through his whole grieving process.
Right, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Because he's going to have a lifetime of regret. You have a lifetime of grief. And now, but then after I was thinking about that while you were listening, and this vignette is playing in my mind, I'm contrasting that with the woman who sits next to me.
Oh.
And it's like, I see your beauty,
Oh.
the physical
Thank
beauty,
you.
but I see the soul beauty. In your
Yeah.
eyes, I see the soul. But you are a beautiful woman.
Mm.
But that's not enough for us to carry.
No.
It has to be, particularly in the church. I want us to be as sisters, to not just compliment each other in how we look,
Mm-hmm.
because we all feel it's validating something that where our affirmation needs to be for each other, is encouraging each other, building each other up.
Right.
How do I do that? How do I help you feel, not just intellectually assent?
Right.
I am a woman of words because God says so.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be able to internalize that, and that comes through the hands of Christ as we talk to one another, as we talk about each other, as when we hear those we're close to say, boy, she's really hot, that we begin to communicate somehow. We communicate somehow differently,
Mm-hmm.
that we don't objectify other women.
Right.
We're good at that.
Yes.
Right.
We're
Absolutely.
really
Well,
good at that.
And that's
Yes.
part, I think that's part of the damage. I've known
Yes.
women on the surveys, and myself, I probably did it to some extent prior. And some women said, I never did this at all until after D-Day.
Yeah,
But certainly it
Yes.
escalated to
Yes.
crazy levels.
yes.
Everybody
Oh.
was searching out, oh boy, she's this type. Oh boy,
Yes.
she's,
There,
you see
that's
her
it.
blonde, that's not good.
Yeah,
Oh.
You know,
exactly.
I went
She
through a terrible
reminds me
phase of
of,
that. Yeah.
or right, and what I did because of our own story, what I began to do with that battle, and we need to talk about that in our communities. I began to tell myself, I will not do what he did.
I caught myself
for you.
doing that
I
one
will
day.
not do.
Woo.
I will not
Stick-
objectify
Yeah.
her. I will not do that.
Yeah.
This is not her fault.
No,
No.
absolutely.
Whoever her is,
Right.
oh,
Right.
however,
So
how
not
many
her
of the hers there are,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not their fault.
Right. Right.
And so if I join him
Mhm.
in
Yeah.
aligning with his perspective of women, to think I could protect myself, is that skewed and crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was,
But it is
was sick
automatic,
thinking.
too.
It
was
is.
sick.
So
It
we
was
have to-
broken. So we speak it. We
Mhm.
just say,
Yeah.
sisters,
Mhm.
we all do it.
Yeah.
To
That's
one measure or another, we're all going to do it. So let's just help each other
Yeah.
not
Right.
stay
Let's
there.
understand
Well, and-
that's garbage. We need
Yeah.
to go past.
Recognize it too, because I didn't recognize what
No,
I was doing
me
at
neither.
first when
I
I,
just
was
was
in
terrified.
the trauma. And
Right,
until one day I
exactly.
was standing next to this woman at the register and she was checking me out and I'm going, her skin is beautiful. Oh look, and
Yeah.
every little thing about her is like, oh, he would love her, and
Exactly.
and all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, I'm in the addict's brain.
Yeah.
This is
And that's
awful.
not a good place to live.
Get out!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get
No,
outta
that was
here.
terrible.
Very
So-
good, Fonda. I like that. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
recognizing
Exactly.
what's happening
Exactly. But we have to tell each other about that,
to you. Mm-hmm.
because then I'm not feeling I'm not ashamed then
Right.
of it. I'm recognizing it as a normal response
Yeah.
in this kind of a situation.
Right.
Culturally, like you said, Lisa, but then also just a normal thing.
Right.
And I don't think you need to have SA as a problem
No.
to have that experience, but it sure brings it, and,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then it globalizes it. It's not
Mhm.
just
Mm-hmm.
this or that, and so yeah.
So being in a place where we can know other women and be known, where we can tell them what we're going
Exactly.
through, and we can
Exactly.
be accepted and loved in spite of
Exactly.
what we think is
Yeah.
wrong with our crazy
Yeah.
minds.
World. Yes.
Yes.
And it's helpful to have mentors. Like I think
Yes.
even in my 20s, well before I knew any of this was going on in my first marriage, and then it would happen in another one, I was looking for older women
Me too.
who
Yes.
knew who
Yes.
they were,
Mhm.
and
Yes.
And had a peace about them.
because they are beautiful. And even at that point, when I was still kind of sucked in more of the world's way of thinking, the beauty does exude from a woman
Mhm.
who knows who she is.
Yeah.
And
so she
get
knows that she's
comfortable in their
not.
own skin.
That's
An air
right.
of confidence.
That's
Mhm.
beautiful. And it's
Which
not
is-
a fake
No, it's
Right.
not.
cult. It's
No.
I know who I am
Right.
Yes.
eternally.
Right.
Right. Yeah, and I'm not letting the world tell me what my beauty should look like, and it's a battle sometimes with the magazines, the billboards, the commercials.
Yeah.
But yeah, and look to those older women who have that peace and that beauty within them to see that's who I want my role model to be. women who have found their worth in God and their value.
When I think about how that is for a younger woman, and I'm listening to our conversation through her eyes, what I want her to know that's not territory you just gain in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lifetime process. I would encourage her not to be hard on herself
Mm-hmm.
because she doesn't own it yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I often, if I'm talking about this from one angle or another, often use the Velveteen Rabbit as an illustration. That the young rabbit, who was not yet a real rabbit, was drawn to the skin horse, who it knew was wise, but even apologized when it said, "You mean my skin is like I'm going to be old like that?" That's it's easy for you to say that.
Yes, right.
And I can hear a younger woman's inner battle
yes,
going,
yes.
"Yeah, it's kind of easy for you because what else do you have now? I still have my youth."
Good point, Donna.
And so what I want her to know is I'm speaking to the younger Donna. I'm speaking to the Donna in her 30s and to the Fonda in her 30s and Shelley in your 30s and younger, to know that my granddaughter, that your worth is intrinsic to who you are as a daughter of God.
Right.
And that throughout Scripture, God talks about the daughters of Zion. Jesus approached us when no one else would throughout the New Testament. And so I want her to hear, not through my or your, or even your words, Lisa, alone. I want them to be able to tell their young selves that I am enough. I'm more than enough.
Right.
I am of value, so that that they're willing to stand and they're willing to not feel, to believe that there's a hope they can move from being in comparison in their own mind, in his attic brain, or in anybody else's mind. I am of value.
Right.
Don't just listen, hear what we say,
Mm-hmm.
but then begin to integrate it as your
That's
own
right.
truth.
Right.
You can own that.
I think that comes from the core, like Shelley Martinez was talking about yesterday. We all have that desire to be chosen.
Yes.
And many of us who didn't feel chosen by our fathers go out into the world and go, I want to be chosen. I want something. Does it take being pretty? Does it take being sexy? What do I have to do to be chosen?
Right.
But if we can convey to them, which took me so many years to learn, I have been chosen.
Right.
I have already been chosen by the King of Kings.
Yeah.
And
I think that's why we have a bride metaphor. I think that's for
Yes.
us women. I don't think the men, that does not resonate with them. Being told that God is looking for sons,
Yes.
that resonates with them.
Abba.
right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Being told that we are the bride, the
Right.
chosen one.
Right.
And I know there's a lot of people that go, well, there's how many million of us, blah, 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 blah. God has capacities that we do not. And the closest we have is parenthood. I can love all of my children with an
Yes.
incredibly special
Yep.
love.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
I
Unique.
can say,
Yes.
that's right, a unique and a single, I can single them out
Yes.
for love,
Yeah.
though there are many.
Yes.
God has capacities
Yeah.
beyond that
Right.
yet
Right.
to single us out and say, you are my beloved,
Yes.
you are my particularly
Yes.
chosen one,
Right.
and you are my particularly chosen
Right.
one.
And you don't have to do anything more.
That's right.
I'm very comfortable in my own theology. Pardon theologians out there that says that can say to myself, I am his favorite. And then I look at you and Fonda, you're his favorite.
Yes.
And they said, you're his favorite. I
Yeah.
can, when we begin to celebrate that among us as in the body of Christ and
Right.
in the world, and I look at the one who's my enemy and I say, that's also his favorite. Then I can move away from having to feel like I have to pull me up here
Right.
to be of his favorite,
Right.
Yeah.
whether it's works or whatever it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Just it's okay to be Donna May.
Mm-hmm.
Do not like my middle name. Meredith Dixon. It's okay to be her.
Yes.
It's not only okay,
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
it's who I am.
Right. And I often go back to the cross again and realize that is the greatest sacrifice anyone could ever give. And it says that he would do that for me. If there was nobody else, he would have done that just for me. I mean, how great a love is that? what more could we need?
Yeah. Especially when I love too reading this Easter, how he came, again, you were talking about this the other day, he came first to the women, but you think about what he said to her too, and this is what struck me more this Easter, was coming across Jesus saying to Mary Magdalene, don't touch me, I'm not yet ascended to my Father and your Father.
Oh,
That's the good news right there.
yes.
What I've done means my Father's, now your Father. You are now
Yes.
equal
Yeah.
status in the family.
Yeah.
My righteousness puts
Yeah.
you back in connection with your Father.
Right.
Back to Eve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
What an amazing journey.
Cool. Guys, thank you so much
Oh, thank you
for talking here today. And
That was good.
I hope it's a blessing to those of you watching. You
Yeah.
are, I am not looking at you, but I'm telling you, you're beautiful.
Yeah.
That's
Because
right.
I know my Father's heart for you. I know
Of
your
ultimate
Father's
worth and value.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so God bless your journey, and feel free to leave comments. Contact us. Tell us about your struggles. Tell us about your victories.
Yep.
Yes.
We'd like to
Yes.
hear it all.
Bless.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.